There are a few things to keep in mind before NCIS. Sydney returns for its sophomore season, which is closer than ever. As Sydney, an NCIS spin-off, is the first program in the NCIS world to air outside of America. By uniting the Australian Federal Police and the American Naval Criminal Investigative Service into a special NCIS/AFP task team that serves the American military post in Australia, the procedural gives the franchise a distinctive twist. Although there have been some deviations, the worldwide spin-off has mostly adhered to the regimented pattern of NCIS episodes, which include a new case each episode. The commanders of NCIS and AFP, Mackie and JD, are two very different personalities who have formed an intriguing alliance in NCIS. Sydney. In addition to the show's distinctive setting, the characters in NCIS Sydney give the show vitality and set it apart from its forerunners. As Sydney Season 2 is something to look forward to since, while only having 8 episodes, Season 1 had an incredible number of narrative twists. The abduction of JD's son, Jack, in the season finale of NCIS Sydney stands out as one of the show's most memorable scenes. Although his kidnapping was a huge shock, the conclusion had a number of surprising turns. Yaroslav, an international criminal, abducted Jack with the intention of exchanging him for Anonymous, a comrade who was being detained by NCIS for interrogation. While JD was still at work, the tragic kidnapping took place at Jack's birthday celebration. The squad managed to get over the NCIS/AFP task force's higher officers' prohibition on exchanging Anna for Jack by surreptitiously taking Anna out in the hopes of reuniting Jack with his family. And the touching conclusion, JD and Jack were reunited, thankfully, without any bodily injuries. JD gained a greater respect for his family as a result of saving Jack's life. And Season 2 will probably depict him as a more active dad following the terrifying event. Although Richard Rankin, Lewis Fitzgerald, the leader of the NCIS/AFP task group, has always been somewhat of an enemy to the team, nothing could have prepared them for the devastating revelation that Rankin was involved in Jack's abduction. After killing Yaroslav in the series finale, Anna threw Jack Yaroslav's phone and instructed him to phone a friend for assistance. Jack dialed the sole number on Yaroslav's phone. Rankin's phone at NCIS/AFP headquarters began to ring. If the crew hadn't been using the satellite imagery that Rankin provided to observe JD live, the phone conversation wouldn't have been so strange. However, the crew was aware of everything, even the unfortunate timing of Rankin's phone call, thanks to JD's monitoring. If Rankin does really have a relationship to Yaroslav and Anna, the Rankin surprise in NCIS Sydney suggests that he could pose a greater threat than first believed in Season 2. During Season 1, Anonymous, Georgina Haig, made a few appearances as the antagonist of NCIS Sydney. But because of her exceptional abilities and versatility, the squad could only capture her close to the end. The fact that Anna has used other identities, including Monica Rowe, and that the team has very little information about her suggests that her name is probably an alias, which helps explain why she was able to evade them. In Episode 7, half of the NCIS Sydney crew and Anna were caught pretending to be a pregnant mother who was losing oxygen after many tries. The team's joy was short-lived, though, as Yaroslav quickly set up a trade for her by abducting Jack. Given her escape in the season finale, Anna could return in Season 2. Anna is an adversary who has exhibited no regret for her acts. Therefore any comeback from her is concerning even though she is a villain with a heart. Although Roy Penrose is a quiet man, Episode 5 had him divulge private details about his family life. In Dogiasino Day Afternoon, an episode of NCIS Sydney, Roy disclosed that his wife was residing in a long-term care facility due to dementia. Roy receives a call from his wife as he is being kept captive in a dog cafe. Roy was able to talk to his prisoner, a young girl who was far over her head. Regretfully, this meant that his private phone call was also overheard by the whole NCIS/AFP task force. Roy's wife was unknown to the crew until that point. Since the task force is still in its infancy, it seems natural that the members do not yet fully understand one another's personal lives. Nevertheless, Roy's reluctance to provide personal information may also be an attempt to emotionally shield himself. But Roy's development as a character was apparent even in Season 1. He began to let Blue in during the season, and at one point he even asked her to take him to see his wife. In NCIS Sydney, The main focus of episode 6 was Evie's background, specifically extraction. Evie recognized a dead guy in a US Navy jacket and knew that her former undercover narcotics cop colleague would want assistance. In an attempt to hide her involvement, she slipped away from the NCIS/AFP team and went back to her previous cover. Unfortunately for Evie, as he began to worry for her life, Deshawn became suspicious of her actions and ultimately told Mackie and JD what he knew. Although everything was okay again in the end, the episode did provide a detailed glimpse at Evie's previous profession. Even though Evie's previous life was only mentioned in passing in Season 1 of NCIS, Sydney, her in-depth understanding of drugs and trafficking would be useful if a case such to this occurs in a subsequent episode. She is also a great prospect for future covert employment because of her undercover background.